Everyone on the station had the same warning. Stay away from the ruins of Kereth. The monster lives there. They said she was more beast than woman, taller than any soldier, with claws that could tear steel, and eyes that glowed like fire in the night. People spoke of her in hushed tones, as if even saying her name might bring death. But Daniel didn't believe in ghost stories. He was a young human explorer, quiet and calm, with curious eyes that always looked further than others dared. When his small ship broke down near the planet Kereth, he had no choice but to land in the closest safe zone. That safe zone? Right at the edge of the ruins everyone feared. The place was cold, silent. Wind blew across broken stone towers and blackened trees. It was like the planet itself had given up living. Daniel stepped out of his ship, scanning the area. He wore a light armor suit and carried a small plasma rifle, not because he expected danger, but because others were afraid. But he wasn't. Hours passed as he searched for parts among the wreckage of old buildings. Everything felt still. Too still. Then he heard it. A low growl deep, like thunder under the ground. He froze. It wasn't close, but it wasn't far either. The kind of sound that felt wrong, like something big had just woken up. Daniel moved carefully, flashlight in one hand, rifle in the other. He climbed over a collapsed wall and entered a half-buried structure. Inside, dust floated in the air, like ghosts. Strange marks were scratched into the stone, marks no human had ever written. The growling came again, louder, and this time, he saw two glowing red eyes. In the dark, they weren't high like a tree creature or flying beast. They were level with his own. Staring straight at him, Daniel's heart pounded. Every story he'd ever heard screamed in his head, "Run, run now!" But he didn't move. There was something strange about those eyes. Something sad. He raised his hands slowly. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said calmly. "My ship crashed. I just need to fix it. Then I'll leave." No answer. The creature stepped forward. At first, Daniel couldn't understand what he was seeing. Yes, she was tall, nearly 7 feet. Her skin was dark silver, with armored plates over her shoulders and arms like a warrior. Her long, wild hair hung around her face like shadows, but she wasn't a monster. She was a woman, and she was limping. Daniel noticed the wound on her leg, deep and glowing blue. Something had hurt her badly, but she didn't cry out. She didn't attack. She just looked at him with those sad, glowing eyes, and whispered something he couldn't understand. Then she collapsed. Daniel's instincts kicked in. He dropped his rifle, ran to her side, and gently turned her over. She was heavy, her body built like a weapon, but her skin felt warm, alive. "Hey, stay with me," he said. "You're hurt." She didn't reply. Her breathing was shallow. Her body shivered. Daniel knew he had to make a choice. He could leave now, pretend he never saw her, fix his ship and fly away, or he could help her. Despite all the warnings, all the fear, he didn't see a monster. He saw someone broken, alone, forgotten. He picked her up carefully, surprised by how much strength it took. He carried her back to his ship and laid her on the bed inside. As he checked her wound, she opened her eyes again and locked them onto his. This close. Her face didn't look scary at all. It looked tired. "I won't hurt you," Daniel said. Again, softer this time. "You're safe here." She blinked slowly, then passed out again. Outside the ship, the wind howled through the ruins. But inside, for the first time in years, someone had dared to touch the monster. And that touch might just change everything. She should have killed him. That's what everyone said she would do. That's what she believed she would do too. But when Soraka opened her eyes and saw the human gently wiping the blood from her leg, she didn't move. She didn't attack. She just watched. Daniel didn't notice right away that she was awake. His hands moved slowly, carefully, cleaning the wound with water and a soft cloth. He whispered to himself as he worked, I don't even know if this is the right way, but it's better than doing nothing. Her breathing grew louder. Daniel stopped. He looked up straight into those glowing eyes. For a moment, everything froze. Two species, two strangers. One mistake could mean death, but Daniel didn't flinch. "Hey," he said softly, "you're awake." Soraka didn't answer. She didn't know if she could. She had been alone for so long, hunted, hated. She had forgotten what kindness looked like. She had never seen a human up close, not one who wasn't aiming a weapon at her. And this one was helping her? She shifted slightly, her claws tightening, just in case. Daniel noticed the movement, but didn't. "Back away. If you want me to stop, say something. Otherwise, I'm going to finish cleaning your leg." Her voice was dry, cracked. "Why? Are you helping me?" Daniel gave a short breath, not a laugh. Not a sigh, something in between, honestly. "I don't know. Maybe because no one else would." She stared at him. "You don't fear me?" He looked into her eyes. "I did, at first, but now I just see someone who's hurt." No one had ever said that to her before, not once. That night, Daniel didn't sleep. He sat near the bed, his rifle nearby just in case. But Soraka didn't move. She lay still, her breathing heavy but steady. By morning, she was stronger. She sat up slowly, eyes scanning the small ship. "Is this your nest?" she asked. Daniel smiled. "I call it a cabin, but sure, nest works." She touched the soft blanket covering her legs. "It's warm." "Soft. I forgot what that feels like." Daniel poured her water. She hesitated before drinking, then drank all of it in one long gulp. "Easy," Daniel warned. "There's more." "I'm not starving you." She blinked. "Why?" Daniel shrugged. "Why not?" Soraka tilted her head. "Because I'm dangerous." "Maybe," Daniel admitted, "but I'm starting to think you're also just lonely." The word hit her harder than any weapon. Lonely. Yes, that was the real truth. Not monster, not killer, just alone. Later, as the sun sank behind the ruined towers, Soraka asked the question she never thought she'd ask again. "Do you want to see where I live?" Daniel raised an eyebrow. "You're inviting me?" She stood slowly, still limping. "You helped me. I owe you something." Daniel nodded. "All right. Lead the way." They walked through the ruins as the stars came out above them. The planet's surface was cracked, scarred from old battles. But the deeper they went, the more signs of life appeared. Strange glowing plants, small alien creatures that scattered at Soraka's scent. And then they reached it. Her home, not a cave, not a prison, a sanctuary. It was a large underground chamber, with walls carved by her hand. Inside were old paintings, crystals giving off soft light, and a blanket made from alien furs. Daniel stared. "You built all this?" She nodded. "Over many years. This place keeps me safe." "From them." "Who's them?" Soraka didn't answer at first. Then she said, "The ones who made me, who turned me into this." She touched the armored parts of her body like they were shackles. "They called me a weapon," she whispered. "A tool, not a person. When the war ended, they erased my name. Said I was too dangerous to live among others." Daniel looked around. "So they left you here to rot?" "No," she said bitterly. "They hunted me, but I escaped. They never came back. And no one else came here?" Soraka looked at him. "You're the first." Daniel sat down beside her as silence fell between them. For the first time, the monster didn't feel like a threat. She felt like a soul who had been crushed and was still somehow standing. Daniel didn't speak much, just sat with her. That was enough. Until Soraka finally whispered, "My name is Soraka. The galaxy forgot me, but maybe you won't." And Daniel replied with only one word: "Never." She wasn't locked in by walls. She was locked in by memory, by fear, by what the world had turned her into. Soraka sat beside the human, the strange man who didn't run from her. Who didn't scream? Who didn't call her a beast? But that didn't mean she trusted him. Not yet. Trust had cost her everything once before. Inside her quiet chamber, Daniel stared at the strange symbols painted on the walls. Some looked like stars, others looked like chains. One symbol repeated again and again, a figure surrounded by fire. He touched it gently. What does this mean? Soraka didn't answer right away. She was watching him, not with anger, but with caution, like a wild animal waiting to see if a hand would offer food or a blade. Daniel turned. You painted this? She nodded once. Yes, that one means May. Daniel blinked. That's you? The one in fire? She looked away. That's how they see me. A danger, a problem, something to burn. Daniel sat down, quiet for a moment, then said softly, You were never given a chance to be anything else, were you? Her eyes flicked toward him. They trained me to fight before I could walk. They injected me with strength serum until my bones cracked. They replaced part of my body with armor. She pulled back her shoulder guard. Underneath was not just skin, but metal fused into flesh. Daniel didn't flinch. Soraka watched his reaction closely. Most people vomited or ran when they saw her real form, but he just asked, Does it hurt? She blinked. No one has ever asked that before. She told him more about the war, about how she was dropped onto planets with orders to clear the enemy, how she never had a home, never had a family, just missions and silence and blood. And when the war was over, they didn't bring her back. They tried to erase her. She escaped, and she hid, but she was never free. Not really. I live in this place because it's quiet, she said. But even here, I hear their voices, in my dreams, in my bones. Daniel leaned forward. They made you into a weapon, but they forgot you were still a person. She laughed just once. A strange, bitter sound. No, she said. I forgot I was a person. Daniel stood and walked to the edge of her room. He pointed to the long metal poles leaning in the corner. Those look like chains. They are, she said. For what? She looked at him without blinking. For me. Daniel froze. You chained yourself? Soraka nodded. I thought if I ever lost control again, maybe it was better I stayed locked. I feared what I might do if I let myself feel again. If I let someone come close. Daniel stepped closer. You don't need them anymore. Soraka's voice was sharp. Don't speak like you know me, human. I've done things, dark things. My hands are not clean. Daniel knelt in front of her. And yet, you let me live. You didn't strike me. You didn't run. You brought me here. She stared at him. That was true, and it terrified her more than anything else, because something inside her wanted to believe him. Something inside her wanted to trust. That night, the winds outside howled like monsters. Inside the ruins, Soraka tossed in her sleep, her muscles twitching, her breath rapid. She was trapped in another nightmare. Battle cries, blood, fire everywhere. She saw herself again, burning down villages, bodies falling, her claws soaked in red, and then a hand touched hers, warm, gentle. Real. Her eyes shot open. Daniel sat beside her, calm and quiet. You were dreaming. She sat up fast, breath sharp, claws half out. He didn't move. You don't have to be alone in this anymore, he said. She looked at his hand, still resting near hers, shaking slightly, but not pulling away. She whispered, Why are you not afraid of me? He met her eyes. Because you were never the monster they said you were. Slowly. Very slowly. Soraka reached out and touched his hand. That night, for the first time in years, she didn't chain herself, and she slept without fear. Names were stolen from her. They gave her numbers, codes, titles like Subject 17, the Beast, the Death Machine. But once, long ago, she had a real name, and tonight, she was ready to speak it again. Daniel had been sitting outside the chamber, just watching the strange night sky. The stars above Kareth blinked like slow, silent tears. The heavy door behind him opened with a low growl. He turned. Soraka stood there. No armor, no chains. Just herself, tall, scarred, and strong. "I want to show you something," she said. Daniel stood. "Lead the way." She brought him to the deepest part of the ruins, below even her hidden room. It was a place Daniel hadn't seen before. The air was cold and damp. Strange lights pulsed from crystals in the stone. In the center of the room, carved into the floor, was a large circle. Inside it, a name. "I carved that long ago," Soraka said quietly. "I was afraid to forget who I was." Daniel walked closer and read the name aloud. "Soraka Vin." "That's your name," he said. She nodded once. "It was, before the war. Before everything." Daniel knelt by the carving. "It's beautiful." Soraka tilted her head. "It's just letters." "No," Daniel said. "It's proof that you were always more than what they called you." She sat beside him, her long hair brushing her shoulders. "When I was taken from my home planet," she began, "I was just a girl. My parents were farmers. My favorite thing was playing with the light moths during nightfall." Daniel listened closely. "I didn't want to be a soldier," she continued. "But they needed weapons, not children. They tore us from our lives and gave us new ones full of pain." She looked at her metal-covered arm. "They melted parts of me and rebuilt me. But they couldn't erase everything. Not this." She pointed at her chest. "My heart still remembers." Daniel took a deep breath. "Then your name, Soraka, is still yours." She turned to him slowly. "You speak it so easily." "I think it's the most human-sounding name I've ever heard," he said with a smile that made her blink. Then laugh, soft, surprised. She covered her mouth like it was something forbidden. Daniel smiled wider. "Was that a laugh?" I don't know," she said. "It felt strange, but good." "It suits you," Daniel said. "You should laugh more." Soraka gave him a long look. "No one has ever said that to me." They sat in silence for a while, but not the kind of silence that felt heavy. It was warm, soft, like the space between two heartbeats. Then Daniel asked, "What now?" Soraka looked away. "Now? I wait until they find me again. Until they try to end what they started." "You don't have to wait," Daniel said. "You can leave. Come with me." Her eyes widened. "Leave this place?" "Yes," Daniel said. "Come to the human colonies. You can start again." She stood up quickly. "No, I can't. They will never accept me. I'm still this." She held out her arms, half flesh, half metal. "They will fear me." Daniel stood too. "Then let them, but I won't." She stared at him, and something inside her cracked. Not in pain, but in hope, a dangerous, beautiful hope. Later, back in the cabin, Soraka walked slowly through the small space. She touched the walls, the soft bed, the control panel with blinking lights. "This is your ship?" she asked, half broken. Daniel said, "But it flies." She turned to him. "If I go with you, what happens next?" Daniel shrugged. "We'll figure it out. Together." Soraka paused. "They may still come. To kill me. To finish what they started." Daniel looked straight into her eyes. "Then they'll have to go through me first." Soraka looked down at her hands again. For years they were used only to fight, to destroy, but now someone had touched them, spoken her name, reminded her of the girl she once was. She whispered, "Soraka." Daniel smiled. "Say it again." She did. Louder, stronger, and the chains she once wore in her heart began to fall away. The sky was supposed to be empty. That was why Soraka chose this planet. Dead, forgotten, quiet. But now, something was falling from the sky, fast, burning, and coming straight toward them. Daniel rushed out of the ship as the sound grew louder, a deep, sharp hum that sent shivers down his spine. The clouds above split apart. As a black shuttle tore through the atmosphere like a knife. It wasn't crashing. It was landing. Soraka appeared behind him. One look at the ship and her entire body tensed. "I know that symbol," she whispered. The shuttle's side was a red mark, an ancient military crest, shaped like a claw. "They found me." Daniel grabbed his rifle. "Who are they?" She didn't blink. "Hunters. They used to feed me orders. Now they feed off my death." The shuttle touched the ground, sending dust flying. Its doors hissed open. 5 figures stepped out, tall, armored, armed with glowing spears and shock rifles. Their leader wore a long black coat and a helmet shaped like a beast's skull. Target locked. The leader spoke, voice cold and calm. "Subject 17, alive." Daniel stood in front of her. "Her name is Soraka." The leader tilted his head. "And you are?" "The man who won't let you take her." The hunters laughed. Then the shooting started. Daniel fired first, covering Soraka as they ducked behind the wreckage. Plasma bolts lit the air like lightning. "They'll kill you for protecting me," she shouted. "Maybe," Daniel said, reloading. "But I won't let them touch you. You're only human." "And you're not a monster," he said. "So we're both full of surprises." Soraka's hands curled into fists, her claws extended. The old part of her built for battle was waking up. But something was different now. She wasn't fighting because she was ordered to. She was fighting to protect him. With a roar, she leapt out from behind the cover and charged. One hunter tried to aim, but Soraka was too fast. She slammed into him, breaking his armor with her shoulder. Another aimed from above. Daniel shot him in the arm, knocking the weapon aside. The leader raised a pulse cannon. Soraka's eyes locked on him. Memories flashed through her mind. Pain. Chains, voices telling her what to do, who to kill. No more. She sprinted forward, ducked under his shot, and tackled him to the ground. His helmet cracked. His face showed fear. "Please," he begged. "We were only following orders." Soraka raised her claws, then stopped. "No," she said. "I won't become what you made me." She knocked him out instead. Daniel ran to her side, panting. "Are you okay?" "I didn't kill them," she said, shocked at herself. "You didn't have to," he replied. "You're free now. You get to choose." She looked around at the fallen hunters. For the first time, she didn't feel like a weapon. She felt like a person. Suddenly, a beeping noise came from the leader's suit. Soraka grabbed it and read the blinking message. "They sent a signal to the fleet," she said. "More are coming." Daniel stepped back. "How long do we have?" She didn't answer. She looked up at the stars, where dozens of ships could already be on their way. "This place isn't safe anymore," she said. "If I stay, you'll..." Daniel looked at her, voice steady. "Then we leave." "Together," she frowned. "But no," he interrupted. "I'm not leaving you behind." Soraka stared at him for a long moment. She had been left behind too many times, but not this time. She reached out and took his hand. "Then we run." The two of them returned to the ship. Daniel started the engines, smoke coughing from the sides. The controls blinked red. It was barely holding together. "Are you sure this ship can fly?" Soraka asked. Daniel grinned. "It only has to fly one more time." Outside, the ground began to rumble. Another shuttle entering the sky. But inside the cockpit, 2 people, once strangers, once enemies of the galaxy, sat side by side. Not running out of fear, but running towards something new, something that might be called hope. He touched her face like she wasn't made of scars. Like her metal bones didn't matter. Like she wasn't the thing they all feared. And for the first time, Soraka wondered, what if he was right? What if she was never a monster at all? The ship shook as it passed through the dark clouds of a new, hidden moon. Daniel wrestled with the controls while Soraka watched him, her claws clutching the edge of the seat. "We're almost through," he said through clenched teeth. The engine sparked. A loud boom rocked the cabin. They crash-landed hard, bouncing twice before sliding to a stop in a forest of glowing trees. Smoke hissed. Sparks flew, but they were alive. Daniel exhaled. "I think we found your new home." Soraka unbuckled, looking around. "No buildings, no signals, no people." "Exactly," Daniel said. "No one to hunt you, no one to judge." She stepped out of the ship, boots crunching on soft blue grass. The air smelled clean. The sky shimmered in strange colors. It was beautiful, but she didn't trust beauty, not yet. That night, Daniel lit a small fire outside the broken ship. He sat on a flat rock, staring into the flames. Soraka sat across from him, silent, arms around her knees. She was thinking about what happened on Un. Single quotes RETH. The soldiers. The fear in their eyes. The way Daniel had stood between her and a loaded rifle. Finally she asked, "Why do you still stay near me?" Daniel looked up. "Because I know who you really are." She scoffed. "You've known me for a few days. That's enough, is it?" "Yes," he said softly. "Because in those few days, you saved a wounded animal, you spared a man who begged for his life, and you stopped chaining yourself." She looked down. "You say you're a monster," he continued. "But I've seen real monsters. They don't feel guilt. They don't cry at night when they think I'm asleep." Her head snapped up. He met her eyes. "You're not hiding those sounds as well as you think." Soraka stood suddenly, fists clenched. "You think tears make me weak?" "No," Daniel said calmly. "I think they make you real." Silence again. Only the fire crackled. Then Soraka whispered, "I was told that emotions were poison." "That caring made soldiers slow." Daniel nodded. "They lied." She stepped closer to the fire, shadows dancing on her face. "What if I don't know how to be anything else? What if I can't change?" Daniel stood to and reached for her hand. She looked at it, flesh and bone, and hers. Clawed and plated with silver. But she took it anyway. "You already changed," he said. "The moment you let someone call you Soraka." Later that night, a strange sound echoed in the woods. Soraka's instincts kicked in. She stood tall, alert. "Ready." Daniel stepped out with her. "What is it?" She closed her eyes, listened, then pointed. Not a threat, just a creature. Small, afraid. They followed the sound through the trees until they found it, an injured alien cub, leg caught. In thorny vines, Soraka knelt beside it. The cub whimpered, eyes wide with fear. It saw her claws. It shivered. Daniel moved to help. But Soraka raised a hand. "No," she said softly. "Let me." She slowly reached forward, whispering something in her native tongue. The cub flinched, but didn't run. With gentle care, she broke the vines. The cub limped forward, nuzzled her hand, then ran off into the woods. Daniel smiled. "You scared it. Then you saved it." Soraka sighed. "Story of my life." Back at the fire, Daniel looked at her seriously. "You know what you did just now? Helped an animal?" "No, you proved a truth." She frowned. "What truth?" He leaned closer. "That monsters don't heal the wounded." That night, Soraka stood outside the ship, staring at her reflection in a pool of clear water. She didn't see a monster anymore. She saw someone scarred, strong, but still alive, and maybe worthy of being loved. The galaxy still whispered her name like a curse, but in one small corner of space, on a forgotten moon, a human spoke her name like a promise. Not Subject 17, not the monster. Just Soraka. The morning air was quiet. A soft wind moved through the glowing trees. Soraka stood alone at the edge of a small cliff, staring at the rising sun. She had never seen a sunrise like this, so calm, so gentle. So full of hope. Behind her, Daniel worked on the ship again. It was nearly repaired, though now they weren't sure if they would even leave. This place had become something neither of them expected. A home. Your name's starting to spread. Daniel said, walking up beside her. I picked up a signal. Last night, Soraka's eyes narrowed. A threat? No, Daniel smiled. A question. A message from a human station. He handed her a small device. She pressed play. A shaky voice came through. This is Captain Mira from Outpost 12. If you're hearing this, we want to know the truth. Is the monster really a woman named Soraka? Silence. And if she is she really still alive? Soraka's hands trembled. Daniel touched her shoulder. You don't have to answer them. But they're not coming with guns. They're coming with questions. She looked at him. I'm not ready. You don't have to be, he said gently. You just have to be willing. Later that day, Soraka found Daniel near the fire, sketching a map on the dirt. It showed their moon, their camp, and trails where they'd seen animals. You're planning to stay longer? She asked. Daniel nodded. I'm not leaving without you. Soraka sat beside him. Even if I told you I might never be ready? Daniel smiled, not looking up. Then I'd wait, one day at a time. She was quiet for a long moment, then whispered, I'm scared. He finally looked at her. Of what? That if I try to live again, I'll fail, that I'll hurt someone, that I'll go back to who I was. Daniel reached out, gently taking her hand. You're already someone else, Soraka. You proved that the moment you spared the man who tried to kill you. You proved that. When you saved me. Soraka looked at their joined hands, one warm and human, the other armored and clawed, and yet they fit. That night, as stars lit the sky, Soraka stood in front of a small recorder and pressed the button. Her voice was low. Steady. This is Soraka Vin. I am alive. She paused. You feared me. I don't blame you. I feared myself too. But I was not born to destroy. I was shaped into that. I've spent years hiding, trying to forget the face I see in the water. Another pause. But someone saw me. A human. He gave me back my name and reminded me that monsters don't cry when they dream. She stopped the recording and handed it to Daniel. Send it, she said. Are you sure? He asked. She nodded. I'm not hiding anymore. Days passed. Messages came back, some angry, some shocked, but one stood out. A short video message from a little girl with green skin and glowing eyes. Hi, Soraka. My mom says you're not scary. She says you're strong like the heroes in stories. I want to meet you one day. Soraka stared at the screen in silence. Then she smiled. It was small, but real. Daniel chuckled beside her. Told you the world wasn't as cruel as it used to be. She looked at him. No, she said softly. The world didn't change. I did. 1 week later, the ship was ready to fly. Daniel stood at the open ramp, looking back. Soraka stood at the tree line, armor shining under the starlight. This moon can be yours forever, Daniel said. Or you can come with me. She walked toward him slowly. Paused. Then held out her hand. He took it without a word. Together, they stepped into the ship. As the engines lifted them from the ground, Soraka looked out the window one last time. Planet below had once been her prison. Now it was only a memory. And the future? It was finally hers to choose. Because the galaxy once feared her, but one human believed in her. And that was enough to start over.